The South African Breweries is going to court to challenge government's latest ban on alcohol sales. Now, in a statement, SAB says while it has supported efforts by government to curb the spread of COVID-19, it believes the third alcohol ban is unreasonable and unnecessary. Last month, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the adjusted Level 3 lockdown and imposed an immediate ban on alcohol sales until the 15th of January. The move by SAB follows a failed engagement with government last year on alternatives to alcohol bans. For reaction to the story, I'm now joined by Lethu Chabangu from the Ukamba Beer Works. Lethu, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Your reaction to this latest court action?
Thank you very much. Yeah, it's like you say, with the ban, firstly, it's the immediate effect part of the ban. It means literally you have to put things down wherever you are, and literally there is no time to move your stock and protect your stock, everything like that. So big breweries like SAB will be having a lot of beer. Some of it is already loaded in the trucks that are ready to dispatch to many other places, and that whole immediate effect ban basically doesn't give people time to prepare and protect their stock, which means at the end of the day we lose a lot of money from all that beer.
Now,
secondly,
no, continue, please.
Yeah, secondly, it's the jobs and the investments that we lose, especially us smaller breweries. You know, we recently opened a brewery in Waterfront that cost us to the tune of above 3 million rands, which is a lot of money for us. And we just had to close in 8 days.
Now, I mean, a lot of people are sympathetic to that because there is a loss of livelihood, but also there's that question of safety. Now, the SAB has deemed the latest move by the Coronavirus Command Council as unconstitutional, but hospitals say that they are under pressure when there is that sale of alcohols with their trauma units inundated. What does the industry say about that? That balancing of saving lives and also trying to save livelihoods at the same time?
So at the beginning of the first lockdown, many breweries turned their systems into producing hand sanitizers, and it saved a lot of people. We've been literally collaborating with the government on that part, but also there is the constitutionality of, as SAB is saying, where does our social contract go as far as telling another adult if they cannot or they can have alcohol in the safety of their houses? And what damage does it do if we could say those restrictions are limited to maybe, let's say, buying off-corn and taking it home? We're still going outside. There's people outside right now going around buying food, doing other things, literally passing by from wherever they are and getting a beer to go drink in their own houses. I don't see exactly where it's gonna do much damage. Many of these restrictions, they come, to be honest, they kind of lack a bit of scientific explanations to help the people understand. The industry has been cooperating. We've been very cooperative. We really understand if we would say, okay, do not do events, large events. We understand all that, but at least the government should allow people to take beer home. And by so doing, we manage to save a lot of livelihoods. We've been struggling with job creation in this country since basically in the 90s. Every year, every government that comes to power, everyone comes to power, talks about job creation. Are we able to come back to it if we're losing jobs right now? So those are the other things that we should take into consideration.
Lethu, as a final question, as we have run out of time, there are fundamental questions that are being raised about alcohol abuse in this country, and it has probably presented itself now more than ever during this pandemic. What are the other alternatives that you are proposing as opposed to a complete ban?
We rather have a situation where off-consumption and online sales are allowed, and then people can sell and deliver liquor to people's houses, And then also when it comes to the issue of alcohol abuse, it's much more of a social issue. It just doesn't stem from the bottle. It stems from our education, from our family life, from many other things. So alcohol is more like the easiest thing to blame, but there's so many things that we need to address as a country.
Absolutely, I agree with you. But as an industry, just especially now during this time, what are some of those things that you have, introduced during this time, with your members in terms of curbing some of those social ills? Because as I said earlier, that now more than ever, we've seen that this country has a real problem with alcohol abuse. And I mean, if anything, the ban has proven that our healthcare system has flourished during this time because of the ban.
Yeah, the healthcare system has always had that. So it's one problem that's always had been there. Our first, if I remember well, our first lockdown, we were promised that the government was going to increase the capacity of our healthcare system to hold COVID patients, not literally the alcohol or the casualty patients, because casualty was always there. So I feel like I wouldn't give the numbers, but I feel like much of that hasn't been really done to its highest. But still, as an industry, we've been advocating for people to basically listen to all the government's guidelines. We've been enforcing social distancing in our establishments and everything literally, and what you call these sanitizers and all these other things. So there's so much that a liquor establishment owner can do. We're also dealing with adults, so we need a lot of education. We have a lot of print material in our establishments that are educating people who are literally adults that also have to take part in this thing, because this is a pandemic that's literally putting everyone's life at risk. Right. So we expect everyone to take part.
Lethu, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it this afternoon. Lethu Shabangu from Ukamba Beer Works.